there's power in taking a photograph. There's power in being an artist.
It's the Phoenix Film Revival Podcast.
Welcome back for another episode of the Phoenix Film Revival Podcast. I'm your host, Daniel Yannicone. I have with me, you guys know her well, Stacy.
Hi. How's everybody doing?
She should be the host. I think we mentioned that before.
Dan has such a good voice, though. Your voice is much better for podcasting, so I think people like that. Well, that welcome from you.
I've got to participate in the podcast a little bit somehow.
So he gets to say
I did the
hello
intro.
at the beginning.
Yep. And we have with us a special guest,
James Green here.
James Green.
Woohoo. Also known as Slim Snapped.
Yes, Slim Snapped.
On the
Yes.
gram.
Also known as Slim. Where'd the Slim Snap come from? Every time I hear it, and I'm sure it has nothing to do with it, the beef sticks.
So actually, partially it was. So
Oh, it was? Okay,
Yep,
I don't
yep.
feel so bad now.
So yeah, we've got James on. Awesome guy. He's a cool guy.
Okay, that's it,
As I
Dan.
said, that's my lingo. Yeah.
We have this little joke with Dan because every time we have a podcast, and then you may have noticed if you listen to us regularly, Dan will say, "Yeah, he's a cool guy. You're an interesting guy.
We have an interesting guy on today.
interesting.
Everybody's interesting.
Everybody's an interesting or a cool guy. I'm waiting for the moment that Dan says something like completely opposite to that. Be like, man, you're so boring.
Yeah, we got somebody really boring today for you guys.
Dan's super descriptive, but that's
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
We're okay with that.
Yep.
Anyway,
Anyways.
so do you go, what do you prefer to go by? Because I've heard people call you James. I've heard people call you Slim. Like, what do you generally, you don't care? Or
honestly, either one. So I mean, usually if it's somebody from that know outside of photography or art, they call me James, and then if it's
Yeah.
somebody that know through art or photography, they call me Slim.
Okay, that makes sense. All right, I'm going to call you Slim.
Okay.
There we go. Anyhow, but thank you for being on. And we always try to kind of think like where we originally met you. And I was trying to think of that. And I could not for the life of me think of when I actually met you for the first time. I think I may have seen you peripherally at maybe an event like for Beers and Cameras or something like that, but I didn't actually meet you. And so I'm thinking in the lab is probably the first time I maybe met you.
Yeah, I think it was honestly one of your guys' photo walks. It was the first time we met in person. I think.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I
I'm
think
not-
that may have been one of the first walks we did. It's not the Superb Owl.
Superb Owl. No,
No.
we're at the Superb Owl party.
I think we had a photo walk back in. It was like the January one, a couple of years back.
Was it, I think
Yeah.
2021, 2022, I think maybe.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. We had a
Yeah.
lot of new people come out for that.
Yeah,
so
we get a lot of
haven't
people that
connected
come
with.
through. I have a hard time remembering who's who, and everybody kind of blends. And we always say about the Phoenix film community is kind of small for such a big city. Like, it's kind of weird. So everybody kind of knows everybody. So you peripherally end up knowing people. But you're like, have I actually met them? But you like know them, which is a little strange sometimes. Like, I know of people. I know people's names. I know what they do. But then I'm like, wait, have I actually met them in real life and like actually talk with them? I'm like, maybe not. I don't know. It gets a little fuzzy sometimes.
Yeah. I know people by their Instagram handle.
Dan's really good
First.
at that.
I'm like, you're such and such. I'm like, yep.
Yeah, Dan weirds people out sometimes. We were in an event not too long ago, and Dan had mentioned to somebody he knew him and knew some info. And the guy, you could tell the guy had no idea who Dan was, and he was like, "Who are you?" I'm like, "I know you."
I pulled a Greg.
But it is awkward because sometimes I'll have somebody come up to me at a car show. I'm like, "Hey, Slim," and I'm like, "I don't recognize your face." I'm like, "What's your Instagram handle?" And they'll
Yeah.
say it, and then it all clicks. So I mean,
Yep.
I'm right there with you.
Yeah, it helps. But I always want everyone to wear name tags. That's always my thing. I'm so bad with everyone's names. People come in for like workshops and stuff. I'm like, and I've often thought maybe I should have name tags. I'm like, but I don't want to be that bad.
Yeah. We'll forget it anyways.
I know. I'm terrible with that. But anyway, so
Yeah.
you're well known in town. People know you. We know you. You've been in Phoenix for how long now? Not a super long time, right?
So we moved in May of 2020, so 4 years or so,
Okay,
a little
okay.
over 4 years, yeah.
Yeah. And where'd you come from before that?
So we last lived in Indianapolis, my wife and I. She was in dental school, and as soon as she finished, I think the day after graduation, we packed up the truck and moved cross country.
Nice. What
Wow.
was the reason for the move? Just getting out of Indiana, or
Yeah, the weather, getting out of Indiana, somewhere warm, closer to her family. Just
Okay.
it's kind of starting fresh. Her family's in Vegas, so I mean we're not that close, but closer than Indiana.
yeah?
But yeah, definitely out of the cold and out of Indiana for sure.
Are you from Indiana?
Yeah, I was born and raised there, so like Hoosier through and through.
Yeah.
Nice.
Awesome.
Nice. Oh my goodness. I don't know if I have been to Indiana. I take that back. I've been to Indiana once for a wedding, and it was a Mennonite wedding. And it was a dry wedding in a basement of a church.
Was it up in Goshen, Indiana? Or up in,
Yes. It was in Goshen. That's exactly where it was. Yep. It's a Mennonite friend. So I'm originally from Pennsylvania, and my Mennonite friend, I graduated with her from high school. And then my other friend, she married his brother. And yep, it was Goshen, Indiana. It was the weirdest wedding I've ever been to. I'm just going to throw that out there. It was very, very proper and everything was very separated. And yeah, it was very strange. But beyond that, I have not really been to Indiana. What's Indiana like?
Truly cornfields. Yeah, soybean fields. There's really not a lot there. I mean, if you like racing, then Indy 500
Yeah.
is the biggest party on earth. Then you have the Brickyard 400, which is NASCAR, so it's meh.
Yeah.
But yeah, really other than that, I mean, there's really not a whole lot. I mean, if you on a Friday night, every high school gym would be packed for basketball. Same thing with football. So I mean,
Yeah.
sports are life, and then farms.
Lots of farms. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of similar in PA a little bit.
So
in
yeah,
the
it's
middle.
really
Yeah. It feels a little similar. Kind of like, is that Midwest? That's sort of Midwest. It's like kind of Midwest. I never, like, some people even say Pennsylvania. So I'm like, no, Pennsylvania is definitely not Midwest, but I don't know. That doesn't. feel like
I
wanna
would just
go
say it's mid.
mid. It's mid.
Anybody says Midwest, I'm like, I'm confused with geography. Was it west of the Mississippi?
East.
East of the Mississippi. Well, see, that doesn't even make sense because Mississippi runs on that side of the country. But
Dan is not very
anything-
good with his East Coast anything. He's only been over a couple times now. So
I don't know,
yeah.
but
It's
yeah,
Dan's a Phoenix boy.
I'm a Phoenician, born and raised. Haven't escaped yet.
what part were you born in and raised in?
Central Phoenix.
Central. Okay.
Yep. 32nd and Oak, roughly.
Yep.
So nope.
Yep. In his house. Well, not your house anymore. Your parents moved away. They moved
Yeah.
to
Yeah, just a few years ago, they moved to Missouri,
they're Missouri,
Midwest.
which is that I would consider Midwest.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's that, yeah.
Although it's I don't know.
There's even less there.
Yeah.
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 That's the change too from Phoenix to Missouri. I think is quite the swing.
Yeah, it's a weird direction to move, but I mean, they bought a $100,000 farm with my dad's pension and was like, you know what, we're gonna move out in the middle of nowhere. I'm like, so you guys bought the farm? All right, have fun.
They're definitely out in the middle of nowhere.
farm of ragweeds. So
And Amish neighbors.
yeah,
Yep.
which is interesting.
Yep.
But yeah,
Yeah. So you were just like, I need to escape this area, and
Yeah, so I mean, it was kind of all I've ever known. And then my wife Raquel, she's military brat, so she kind of had hopped around, moved around, and we looked at a couple other places, and then we came out to visit. I think in 2017, flew out, drove in from Vegas down to Scottsdale, stayed there for 4 days or so, and then from 2017 on, it's been Phoenix or die.
yeah.
I was like, let's go to Tulsa. Let's look at New Mexico. Let's look at Colorado. She's like, nope. It's Phoenix or nothing. It's Phoenix or bust. So I shot myself in the foot with that one
yeah,
because we didn't hit anywhere else before then. But so yeah, it was really here in California. And then we looked at the cost of California and the cost of here. And at the time, the cost of living in Phoenix was the same as Indianapolis. So
Yeah.
it was kind of hard. It was kind of a give me of better weather and the warmth, same price. So why would
Yeah.
you not move?
yeah,
The price is slowly but surely going up.
inching its way up.
It really, well, I'd say more than inch.
Yeah, so yeah,
Yeah.
it was a big leap.
Yeah,
Especially the last couple of years, it's been leaps and bouncing like up. But Good
Yeah.
for folks that have bought the, real estate and stuff pre that, but
Yeah.
let's
So
see.
how you liking Phoenix so far?
Love it. Honestly, love it. It's a change, but
Yeah.
overall, yeah, it's treated me well. So I mean, I can't complain.
That's good. That's
Awesome.
good.
Well, we welcome you here.
Yeah.
Thanks for
I was-
having me.
I was
Late welcome, but welcome.
welcome. Yeah, I always bitch on Phoenix a little bit, but which isn't very nice of me.
Yeah.
But I'm very used to East Coast, though. I'm used to having, like, lack of a better word, prettier things to look at. Here, it's just very drab and square and dirty and
Mostly
beige.
for
Like that stuff. Like, that's the part that I'm not into as much. I'm not like ragging on the people or anything, except for the driving skills. But
Stacy's ragging on the residential, like the suburbanite sort of growth. There's no old buildings here.
there's no old buildings. There's no history. The culture here seems to be a little scary. From like, it's just in a comparison level is kind of, I guess, where I'm coming from. Because like growing up on East Coast, busier cities, I came here from New York, which was obviously much different than it is here. So I always have a hard time getting over that when it comes to Phoenix.
I can agree though. Like even going back to Indianapolis and then going to downtown Phoenix, the difference in even buildings and like just neighborhood structures is completely different.
Very, very different.
Yeah.
You go to a neighborhood like back in Indianapolis, you'll have corner markets, you'll have basically everything kind of almost there. There's some food deserts, but here it's drive 15 minutes to go to the store. And
Yeah.
It's just like,
Yeah.
why is there not a small like mom and pop store?
Yeah, the
Right there.
bodegas aren't here. Like I was confused by the lack of bodegas when we moved here. I was like, why aren't there any bodegas anywhere?
Yeah.
Like they're lifeblood in New York,
Yeah, it makes sense, especially with being active and being out and about. It's like you need a water or you need something to snack on.
Yeah,
or you
don't
need
have to
like
drive to the grocery store like to have it. And like it's not like we don't have the population. Like
Yeah.
we have the population. I guess Circle K's and like like gas stations here are much more of a thing than they are on the East Coast. Like here
suppose-
the gas station kind of functions as like your bodega here.
that, and like we have had a lot of Walgreens. I know growing up, there's like usually a Walgreens,
I
pretty
think they're
close.
aren't they going out of business?
But yeah, Walgreens is going out because they're so big. They're like a mega, bodega, mega bodega
Mega bodega.
kind of.
We're here in the Melrose and we have the Sunrise Market here, which is really nice, which is a
Yeah.
bodega.
Yeah.
But you don't have very many of them floating around.
Yeah.
which
We
is
need more.
sketchy.
We need more bodegas.
Yeah, that's
everywhere.
my ask of Phoenix. More bodegas. And less harsh weather. We're finally getting into the better weather season for us, which is awesome. We always talk about how we're kind of on the flip side of everybody else when it comes to photography, especially the street photographer folks, because the street photographer folks are waiting for our good weather, and that's completely opposite of everyone else, where they start winding down and getting ready for the winter. Which is kind of
Yeah.
funny. We go that way. Do you do a lot of street at all? I feel like most of what I've seen is either portrait studio or wedding for the most part. But any street in your stuff?
I'll say very little.
Yeah.
I'll shoot a little street if I'm in a new city, but for the most part, if I'm somewhere I reside, I usually don't really shoot street. I've had some fun experiences shooting street and also some really bad experiences shooting street. So
Yeah.
I just try to probably keep myself out of the bad situations as much as possible.
Yeah.
Street's a hard thing. Like not everybody can. The people that are good at it are really good at it.
Yeah.
Because it's like there's so many things you have to contend with doing street photography, and to get good street photography, you have to kind of go out of your way to get uncomfortable to
Yeah.
do that. And certain parts of the world and parts of even our own city, questionable places to be out doing stuff with camera.
Yeah, you definitely have to have a personality that lends well to that and be able to shift easily with, different interactions and be able to read the room.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
And especially being out with like expensive equipment and things like that.
Exactly. Yes, like I'd rather not. Yeah. Back in Indy, we were shooting some street stuff at night, and it was right around like time of COVID.
Mm-hmm.
And the guy pulled up on us. Basically, was like, essentially, was like, get out of here. We're like, all right, kind of whatever. We're still just walking. And it was a public road, but it's by all these houses. And then the next thing, like two dudes rolled up, like two sets of trucks rolled up. We're like, all right, time for us to leave. Like, that's our cue
Yikes.
right there to go. And we like drove to IKEA. I'm like, let's go over here. let's just make some pictures in the IKEA parking lot.
yeah.
It's well lit.
Yeah.
You never know. So where did your photographic journey begin? Have you always done film? Because you do a mix. You do a mix of film and digital. Where'd you start with everything?
So kind of I would say the earliest memory I would say is traveling with my grandma. So my grandma would take us to track meets and we'd get little point and shoots or little, basically point and shoot cameras. And at the end of the trip, she would develop our film. We'd go home with a packet of pictures, basically. That's the earliest memory I have of photography. And then from there, like being in 4-H, would shoot, make, you have to have your 10 photos for your exhibit this year. And then as that progressed on, my brother was in photography, and there's a guy, I think his name is Del Bernstein Barnstein. He's out in Indianapolis. He shoots wet plate, and my grandma knew him through photography and some other stuff, and she got those two connected. So growing up, we had a pet black bear, and
What?
yeah, we had a pet black
that's a
bear.
trip.
And so then basically Del came down to our farm and helped my brother make a wet plate of the black bear and my uncle and
Oh,
like
that's
its huge
awesome.
cage. And then from there it just went on through college. I would just photograph parties for fraternity stuff. Put down a camera. I was traveling all over the US for work. Didn't pick up a camera until I think 2017. I was playing rugby, got a really bad concussion, and my wife Raquel was saying, "Hey, like, you need to find something else that's less hard on your body." And so she took some of her VA money and bought me my first digital camera I had like in 10 years. So then from there, it's just kind of spiraled back on since 2017.
Heck yeah.
Nice. Okay, we're gonna have to circle back though. So you owned a bear.
Yes.
How in the world? You don't hear that too often. I didn't even know you legally could own a bear. So
Short. I'll give you the Cliff Notes version,
Yeah,
rundown version. Basically, there's an open air market by where we live at, and my dad went there to buy a goat. Because like I said, we live on a farm. We had horses. My mom was
that tracks. Horses. Yeah.
So my mom was practicing roping, so she wanted to go basically practice roping. My dad went to the market, saw that they had black bear cubs for sale, and the guy used to own a bait shop in front of our house. He's like, "Hey, Greg, can I borrow some money to get this bear because I only brought this much money because I was going to buy a goat." And so buys the bear, he brought it home in the truck, and then he had like a tarp over the kennel, like the cage, and he's like, "Guys, I got a new puppy." We're like, "What are you talking about?" We got there. It's the bear cub. And so forever he told us like, "Oh, it's a Rottweiler puppy. It's a different breed. Like it has long hair." Mom found out, she was pissed, rightfully so.
Oh yeah.
And then from there we had to go, like, you had to get your wildlife permit with the DNR, and they come out, check not kennel, with the cage, what do you want to call it, the enclosure, go through those regulations, and then you kind of register with the vet to make sure they have all their shots. And at that point, it's your legal pet.
Oh my
Wow.
God. How long did you guys have this bear for?
So around like 3 years or so, we had to put it down. But yeah, we had it around 3 years. So
Oh, wow.
Oh wow.
I've never
That's a
known
trip.
anyone that owned a bear before.
Yeah. You do now.
say the more you know.
What? So it was a black bear?
Yep, it's a black bear. So
wow.
Aren't they usually kind of feisty?
yeah, that's
Yeah.
so yeah, he was, I think it was around 6 feet or so tall.
Yeah.
A couple hundred pounds. So it was,
They're big, yeah.
it wasn't a grizzly bear big, but it was
They're not
a,
small.
a grown human big.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's big.
No, I've seen some in the woods of, because the middle of Pennsylvania, like the wilds of Pennsylvania, we got bears out there. Yeah. That's kind of like I go running the other way. I don't think I'm going to bring him home. I'm going to bring that bear home.
Yeah. Oh, that's fun though.
That's pretty fun. All right. Nice.
I'm sure
Well-
mom knew right off the bat. That's not a
She's like, it's not a goat. She's like, why is this in a dog cage? And I'm like, why?
It's a weird looking dog. Well, kudos to your dad.
Yeah.
Bringing the bear.
It's like when people they catch a coyote on the side of the road. They're like, I found this dog.
I did that. I had never seen one before when I moved here, and I thought, man, that dog looks like shit. That was what I thought, and I was like, oh wait, that's not a dog.
That's a mangy coyote.
It's a mangy coyote. That's exactly what it was. It's like, okay,
Yeah.
but I would never think to bring one home.
That's fun. Do you have any pictures of it?
I only have one picture, not on my phone, on my laptop.
Oh,
Like, yeah, I won't, yeah, it's just, and honestly, it's blown up from a 35 millimeter picture
Oh, okay.
of my uncle in it. And I think my parents have some back at the house.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
Nice. What was the bear's name?
bear.
It was Bear.
Bear.
Okay. I love everything about this story.
Doggy.
Call him
And
Dog.
people like Raquel didn't believe me, and then the first time she went to my parents' house, they had the wildlife permit still like up in like the little credenza, and she's like, "You guys did not have this pet." I'm like, my dad's like, "I promise you, we did. Look up there," and he pulls it down. It's the official permit.
That's crazy.
Nice. That sounds a little bit like my grandmother, though.
Yeah.
My grandmother owned
She had a
raccoon.
raccoon.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there was my grandma passed like just 2 weeks ago or whatever, not even 2 weeks. She was 99, so it was something like, oh no, she's 99 years old. But she had a local girl from Pennsylvania wrote a story about my grandmother and my grandmother's raccoon. So my grandmother, very country farm, owned all the animals, but she had a raccoon that she had for years, like years and years and years. And the raccoon became like a family member, and it would sit in the couch and like watch stuff with them, and it'd get into the fridge and take hot dogs
hot
out of
dogs
the
out.
fridge and give them to the dog. And like they'd ride around with it in the car and take it to the park. But there's like this girl did this, there's a book, and it's based off my grandmother and this raccoon that she had. But I asked my grandmother at one point, I'm like, is there any animals you didn't have at the house? And she's like, nope, we had them all. Like, so she was one of those. She's like, if she would have had a bear come on the property, she'd be like, come here, buddy.
Yeah.
She
Fed it.
she definitely would have brought in a bear as well. I always laugh at Dan. I tell Dan he's gonna. Our friend Dave had to get rabies shots recently, and I always make the joke. I'm like, someday Dan will be getting those too.
Yeah.
Because Dan likes to any
the
wild animal that he
wildlife.
sees. He's like, come here. One of these
Gotta be
days,
friends with them.
It's gonna get you.
Yeah, that's all right. I'll let it happen.
Just let it happen.
Yeah.
They're really expensive, even with
Yeah.
insurance. Super expensive.
Yeah, that's fine.
My concern isn't really you getting rabies. It's just like the expense of the rabies shots. I don't know what that says about me.
You
But
can't afford that. You're just going to have to suffer.
you're just gonna have to get rabies. take your chances.
Yeah.
Oh goodness. Well, anyway, so you got back into shooting, and that makes sense. I get that with the sports and getting head injuries. You don't want to get too many of those in a row. That'll mess you up. And especially rugby. God, rugby doesn't seem like you're protected much in any way at all. Are you? Like,
No, I mean, really, it's shorts, t-shirt, and that's it.
it's so crazy. You see like American football, and like they're padded up everywhere, head to toe, and then you see the rugby guys, and the rugby guys are like violent and like so.
Well, I feel like unless you're like on that charging line, it's a little different. I mean,
Yeah, I mean, to me, it's honestly less rough than American football. Like,
Yeah.
truly it is. Because like you have to wrap up for your tackles, and you can't lead with your head.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
And so there's a lot of rules in place kind of to prevent those injuries that we get in American football.
Yeah.
I would say there's more like random ankle injuries and knee injuries than really head stuff.
Yeah.
yeah.
So yeah, it's
It's still good. And it's hard as you age too. Photography in general is pretty safe.
Yes.
Unless you're taking pictures on the side of the road and decide to pet dogs like David.
yeah. You get the rabies. Yeah. I guess it comes at some cost.
At least you don't get a concussion as long as you don't run and trip on a rock and then hit your head. So,
There's a few things. You get like attacked by a random on the street. You know?
yeah.
yeah. So
Yeah.
no street photography right there.
Yeah.
can be very sketchy.
Avoid that. You'll be okay.
Yeah, there's certain parts of the country, yeah, for sure, street photography would be a bad idea. So, anyway, safer for sure. So, you shoot primarily as a business. So, this is actually your income, which is, it's always like we talk to people, and, a lot of folks we talk to, they kind of do it half, business. And then some people are doing it just as, a hobby thing. And it's always impressive to talk to folks that have made photography a career, because that is hustle, super hustle. It seems like you've got a pretty good grasp on the hustle. Part of that.
It's a mix. So yeah, full time I do engineering. So I still work my 9 to 5, as you would call it. But yeah, like photography, the last 2 years has picked up a lot. Basically, weddings and corporate events. Those two,
Yeah.
between those two, that will fund all my film stuff that I ever need. So that's a big part of like bringing in those jobs. But that's been a lot of really networking. Once we moved out here, it was really IG hard because I didn't know anybody moving out here. We moved out here fresh. not knowing a single person. And
Yeah.
then a buddy from college ended up moving back here. So that was like the one person I knew. But he's not in photography really. And he's in events, but all his events were out of state. So it was a thing that where it's like, all right, I need to find some way to monetize this if I want to keep shooting film, because film's getting really expensive. And
Yep.
so yeah, met some people through Instagram, got brought on for different weddings and corporate events. And from there, it's just kind of grown steady to where it's at least one event a month or like one wedding a month. And now it's slowly transitioning to being able to pitch those weddings of all film or like 80% film, 20% digital to be to more of my wheelhouse of what I'm more passionate about,
Yeah.
photography wise at least.
That is like whenever you say wedding photography, a lot of people like kind of freeze up. Like, oh my God, that's like, 'cause that's some scary stuff. It's like a lot of responsibility. But the fact that you're doing it with, did you just say 80% film?
That's the goal. So like I've done some 50-50. I've one in October. It's actually October 26th. It's in Cali, a buddy from school. It's going to be, that one probably will be 80-20 of film to digital, if not 90-10.
Yeah.
Yeah, he basically said, go crazy with film with the budget. One thing I want on digital is maybe the first kiss and a couple portraits, but other than that, do what you do on film.
Yeah.
Wow.
So it's going to be 35, 120, and then the goal is to shoot 4 sheets of large format throughout the day. Probably one big group picture and then some portraits and then individuals of them. But yeah, it's really just going to be kind of go crazy.
Yeah.
Heck yeah.
Do you find couples are searching you out because you're shooting film? Or do you think that it's just a secondary, like, you know, that you do shoot film? I mean, your photography is wonderful either way, but I'm just saying, like, you know, some people are like, film, I want to film.
So I've told some couples I shoot film, but recently, I mean, it's mixed in with my digital stuff, so you can't tell. Or a lot of it's, I try to mix it in as best as I can to where it's you kind of uniform too. So it's whether it be film
Yeah.
or digital, it looks similar. But it's been a lot of my second stuff mostly has been people searching me out because they know I shoot film.
Mm-hmm.
The couples that come to me directly to hire me as like a lead or as the main, they just like my work. They don't, some know I shoot film, some don't know.
Yeah.
They don't know until the day of or until we get into a conversation. They're like, oh, that's really cool, you shoot film. But the last couple I talked to, they had no idea I shot film until we were sitting at the bar having a conversation. And then it came up like, what? And I was like, yeah, this camera's from 1940. They're like, no way, that's so awesome. They're like, we bring that? I'm like, yeah,
Yeah.
I'm bringing it for sure.
That's what I take pictures with.
Yeah, weddings that's a lot of work. How did you get into weddings?
I would say kind of by choice, not my choice. So I was shooting a lot of portraits and I had multiple people ask me to photograph weddings or photograph their wedding. And I refused until right before we moved from Indiana. A friend said basically they needed help with lighting with flash. And I was like, you know what? I'll come in, I'll help you with flash. And then that's kind of it. And then I ended up shooting most of the wedding. So that was my first wedding that I ever shot. And then from there I kind of regressed back because I wasn't shooting more weddings when I moved out here. And I connected with a photographer that had been shooting a lot of weddings since probably 30 years. They like my portrait work. And like, you know what? We just want to bring you on, basically shoot portraits, make great portraits of the groom or like the other bride, the other groom, make great portraits of them, and then just make great portraits of guests throughout the day. And so then from there, it kind of just evolved on, but it really started as we want to bring you on to make cool portraits of people and get creative. So I was like, I can't really say no to that because I like getting creative. So it's not like the cookie cutter, everybody get together type deal. It's like, all right, we want funky light, like harsh shadows, harsh light, everything. Like whatever you see that's cool or funky, capture it and just go crazy, have fun.
Yeah. Nice. So you haven't had a lot of boundaries, which is good.
I mean, there's the normal get these certain shots or get these safety shots, but other than that, not really. It's get the few safety shots, and then that's really the only kind of requirement or boundaries I've been given.
I feel like weddings have evolved quite a bit too in the last like couple decades. It used to be very cookie cutter and everyone, you know, okay, we're going to get the picture with the bride and groom. Now we're going to get the picture with the bride and groom and the parents. And like you had your very, very set photos that seemed like everybody sort of did. And seems like now, like anytime I see someone's wedding, people are much more like, even the structured ones seem much more loose now, where they realize like the candid, the more loose looking stuff looks better than the ones that everyone's just like in a straight line. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
like looking all harsh and like they all
I
were
feel-
placed there.
I want to say like back in the day, it was more like this is your, it's more like for identification of your family rather than, being candid. And at least that's how I've seen it shift. Because you look in your family album, be like, that's your uncle. This is your aunt. This is your great grandma.
Yeah.
The photography was there just to kind of identify.
Yeah, basically. As opposed to now, it's more of a creative endeavor. So
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely turned into more, I guess, documentary style, I guess what I would say. Like it looks like a lot of photography for weddings have gone to, where it's like they don't look like they're purposely there. They've just managed to capture the moment. And
Yeah.
like it seems like which I'm sure is a lot of what you're doing behind the scenes to make it appear that way. But doing it very much better than I've seen it in the past, like with wedding
Thank you.
photography for sure. Because it's like, yeah, like you can tell as a photographer, okay, someone had to put work in that. You had to put that, in that situation, but it looks incredibly natural. It looks like you're just a part of the day and you're just blended in, which is like really nice to see. Yeah, it's like I said, wedding photography, that sounds daunting.
It is, but it's like I feel like people look at it as like a super daunting day. And I feel like the most daunting part is the amount of time you're there. But really I feel like it's not that much different than being on set or like being on location for a shoot. Because some days, you might be on location for 8 or 10 hours. And then some weddings, you might be there for 8 or 10 hours, depending on, what you agreed to.
Yeah.
And you're going to have like, for now, like when I'm doing kind of building my packages for my weddings, I'm building in breaks for couples. So I'm like, hey, I don't want you to be basically herded around all day. Like, let's make you immersed in the day and let you enjoy the day and let you actually be present there with your friends and family. Like, let's not make this big show. Like, let's have you there. Let's get you to cocktail hour. Let's have you hang out with grandma. Like, let's actually have you enjoy your day that you spent this money on, not just like be there for pictures. So I think it's been a big part of it. And that's kind of taking the pressure off of, I would say, the photographer and the videographer in a sense.
Yeah.
Because from then at that point, if I can go leave the wedding with a good picture of almost every guest, then like I feel like I've done my job. Truly, like I give the couple 3. I tell the couple, if I can give you 3 like wall pieces or 3 pieces that you want printed, and they get a good picture of every person at the wedding, whether they're talking or whatever, but a clean picture of them, then like I've done my job because you have a memory of every person there.
Yeah.
And you have like 3 good pictures of you and your significant other of the day.
yeah.
Yeah. That's great. And then you do a little Super 8 work now too, right?
Yep. So yeah, Super 8's been rolling in more and more. So I was just out in California 2 weekends ago shooting some Super 8, and it's a good time. I love it. So I mean, I want to eventually get into 16 millimeter, but I gotta find a Bolex for a good price.
It gets that much more expensive.
Yeah.
Nice. So you said you're an engineer as well. Mm-hmm. So do you come at your photography kind of technically?
I try not to, but I do. I try not to get too down in the weeds. I feel like once I usually approach it from a technical standpoint, or try to do as much back end technical work. So then on the day I can kind of just be creative and flow and like use the other side of my brain so that I'm not constantly thinking about the exposure triangle and shutter speed and everything. I'm like, all right, let's just go out there, let it flow.
Yeah.
And just like, oh, there's a light pocket here. Let's just get that. Not, all right, this is not perfectly centered, not symmetrical. Like, it's going to drive me crazy.
I was gonna say, because you do a lot of stuff in the studio, so you're not only working with natural light in the scenario that you are with weddings, but you're also doing studio work. So I would imagine you have a pretty broad understanding of light then.
Yes.
So
And I've seen you do a little bit of modeling. I've seen you show up on my feed and other people's feeds. I'm like, hey, wait,
There's James.
James doing some modeling. I guess he's seen you in a coffee ad.
Shout out Dino.
Yeah,
Shout out to, yeah, I was like, wait a second. I'm like,
I know that guy.
but I'm assuming being a photographer and understanding light and being on the other end has probably greatly helped on that end. So people are probably like excited to have you because you probably don't need as much direction as someone that maybe doesn't have that experience on the other side.
It definitely helps. And then like you can also, if they want your input, if they ask you for your input, then you have you're seeing it from a different vision
Yeah.
from them being on the other side as the talent. It was easy. I would say I had a lot more bookings having when I had my locks. Now that I'm bald, it's a little different, but I should have another gig or two rolling in hopefully soon. But,
Yeah.
You just get hot and you're just like, hell with it.
Well, so I was actually balding. And
Oh.
so it was time to let him go, unfortunately,
You're
but
ready.
it was
Good
that
for
time.
you. Some guys like hang like way too long.
I was just like, it's gotta go. I was like, keep him like, nope, I'm not gonna be that guy with just a little patch in the back of my head. I was like, it's gotta go.
Got just a handful.
Get like one dread in the back. That's it. That's all it's hanging in there.
I was gonna do the rat tail, but then I was like, no, I can't do this to the rat.
Yeah. Thinning comes for everyone.
But not everyone, but
Well, yeah.
a lot of guys. But not everyone takes it very gracefully,
Yeah.
which
I had
is
a-
unfortunate.
I had a friend like literally good head of hair out of high school, like less than like 2 years went straight bald. And I was like, oh man, that's like too soon. But he looked good bald. I'm like, that works.
So except that people think they look. I'm like, most guys look perfectly fine bald. Like,
Yeah.
you just have to. What's that from your mom's side? It's usually the mom's side. I think that you get your hair
I think so.
lineage from. I think I've heard that. I don't know if that's totally true or not, but
Yeah.
Both my grandpas are bald, so
there you go.
I'm screwed.
It's like,
Yep.
Just like it's bound to happen.
Yep.
like it's going.
Yep.
Don't worry about too much. I know Dan worries about his a little
Yeah.
bit, but
That's thinning. But I grew it out once in high school. I was like, you know what? I'm going to let it happen. It happened. I can write that off. When the rest of it starts to thin, I'll shave it off or something. I don't know.
eventually go bald.
Yeah. I'll get one of those Turkish like hair implants.
Oh my gosh. Those guys are scary. Did you ever see that? The videos of like guys coming back from Turkey on the plane. Like there's like a whole ton of them and they all got the head.
Would you ever do that?
We joked about it. I was like, you know what? Maybe if I save up for a couple gigs, like maybe I'll go to Turkey. I was like, maybe I'll go early, like go a week early, shoot some stuff, and then have like my 3 weeks in the hospital recovering, and just come back with a full head of hair. So,
There you go.
The brand.
Dreads are back.
What do they do? They implant hair into you? Like your own hair?
Something like that.
honestly, I don't know how it works. It just looks kind of painful.
It looks terrible.
Yeah.
It looks like terribly terrible.
Yeah.
I had a boss many years ago, and he was bald, except for he apparently could grow like his sideburn area. I don't even know. It wasn't his sideburn, but it was like the hair on the one side. And he had this one big chunk that was like 3 feet long on one side of his head that somehow grew. And he wrapped it around his head.
Come over.
It was like
Yeah.
the weirdest thing I've ever seen in my life. Because one time we were out and it got windy and it flew over, and I saw like how it was put together, and I was like, "How is that even possible? What you're doing right now?" Like he managed to like grow this like 3 foot wad of hair out of this head that has no hair at all, but he just like looped it around the top. I'm like, well, that's kind of impressive, honestly. Like, but
Yeah.
a weird look.
Well, you look good without the dreads as well.
You look perfectly fine without the dreads. Yeah, people get very stuck in like identity things, especially with like their looks, like how they
Yeah.
look. And I grew up and I had, I bleached my hair blonde quite a few times. I had pretty light hair anyway, but I always had this really long hair. And I remember in high school, I chopped it all off and dyed it black. And I came in the next day and was like, "Why'd you do that? Why'd you take off your hair?" And I'm like, I don't know. Like, you didn't realize it was such a like part of your life until people started saying, "Why'd you take it off? It looks so good." Like,
Yeah.
thanks for making me feel bad.
Well, that's this crazy part too. I mean, I had my locks for like 13 years, so I mean, that's my longest relationship.
That's pretty long.
So, but no, yeah, I was like, some people like, there's people I've met that that have never seen me without locks, or had never seen me before my locks. Like Raquel had never. We met. I had locks,
Yeah.
and a lot of people like went to college with. They met me when I had locks. They're like, "Who are you now? Like, who's this
Yeah.
person with no hair? Like, we've never seen this."
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
that happens. It's like beards. Like Dan accidentally like trimmed his beard wrong once, And the whole thing
Yeah.
had to come off, and he had this like ridiculous like mustache.
I was like, I'll just
Goatee
keep the
thing going.
mustache. I'm going
Yeah.
to keep it for like 4 days or something like that, and then I'll shave it off.
Yeah, you look
But-
ridiculous.
Yeah, look terrible.
I was like, you realize I'm like, wow, I've never seen you without the without having your
Without the beard. Yeah, look totally different. But it happened with my dad. My dad, they moved to Missouri. They're living in Missouri. They come back after for the winter, and I hadn't seen my dad for like 6 months or whatever. Growing up, it was just a mustache, no beard, and that was it. It was always this big like porno stash for my dad. But just like 6 months later, 6 months later, I see him and he's out back and he's like, and his back is facing me, and my mom is in front of him, and she's like, "Hey, turn around." And so my dad turns around, and he full on looks like an Amish guy, no mustache, like super white beard,
Yep.
and I'm just like, what? I'm so confused. I was like, what did they do to you?
turned your Amish.
Yeah,
I call him a Keebler elf.
yeah.
Looks like a Keebler elf.
My dad's a Keebler elf. But when Stacy met me, I had really long hair. And
That's
then
true. I met Dan for the first time. He had long hair and he was wearing a mask because it was COVID time. So I didn't really see much of him. I just saw your eyes and this long hair. And the next time I met you, you had no mask and you had short hair. And I was confused and you lost a lot of weight as
Yeah.
well. He had a breakup between it.
Yeah.
So Dan was like chunky
I was like-
and then he broke up. Dan's like when Dan's chunky, he's happy. When he's thin, he's really sad.
it's true.
So
Felt that.
he had a breakup. He had a breakup and he got like real thin. And I'm like, wait, is that the same person? Like, I wasn't sure if it was you when I met you the second time because you looked completely different because you
Yeah.
had like the short hair and you were thin. And I was like, what happened?
What happened to him?
But I plumped you back
Yeah,
up.
Stacy started feeding me. So.
I did start feeding you and then you plumped right back up.
Yep.
Here
So
I
he's a happy boy.
Yep. She set me straight. Anywho's.
Anywho's. Back to photography, I suppose. I'm not balding. I'm just going to put that out there.
It must be nice.
I know. Blessed. Hashtag blessed.
Yeah. Your vision's going though.
Yeah, that's not a joke. Yeah, that's tough, especially with photography. I mean, I've always been bad with rangefinders anyway, but nowadays, no way in the world I could do one. I couldn't work it out. But
She's going to start bringing a tape measure with her and doing like,
I have to.
like have to make marks on the lens.
Yep. I'm really starting to go that way with like having to just be like, okay, I know I'm 6 foot here. Like this is gonna be it.
Yeah.
If I'm at F8, I'm good for this whole
I
range.
know.
Here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll be fine. Yeah, I get worried about that. Like when I'm in the darkroom and I'm like looking through the grain focuser, I'm like, well, wait, is this really accurate? Because I know my eyes aren't accurate and I'm not using the glasses because I have to use reading glasses now and they're slowly but surely going up in prescription. I'm like, wait, is that accurate or not? I'm like, well, I guess it doesn't matter if I can see it. It's fine. it's in
Yeah.
focus to me. So,
Yep.
do you ever do any darkroom work? Have you ever been?
I have. So I've done darkroom work in the past. Printing, I still do development, but I need to get back to printing. So it's on the list. It's like it's on,
Yeah.
the, it's on the
Yeah,
list.
yeah, yeah.
It's on the list of things to
Dabble
do.
a little bit, but you've been busy.
Yeah, so it's been really busy.
sense.
I even dropped off developing, but yeah, I'm slowly getting back into everything, getting back in the groove. I'm getting the Intrepid 4x5 enlarger back.
Excellent. Yeah.
So then, because I shot a ton of 4x5 last year, and I was just like I wanted to enlarge a lot of that stuff. A friend gave me a bunch of free paper, so it was just like
Nice.
now I was just trying to find the time to set everything up in the bathroom. Because
Yep.
I guess I'm out of our guest bathroom, so it's like a 2 foot wide or 2 foot like deep by a 3 foot area. So not a lot of room for trays or anything.
Yeah, it's pretty tight.
Put them
Yeah,
in the bathroom, in the bathtub.
that's the other. So like I got a little rolling cart, like a little foldable table that
There
I
you
can
go.
put the
Nice.
enlarger on, and then use the countertop for the trays, and then that's where I'm gonna go right now. For now, I think
Good.
that's a setup for now.
Good.
Get it done.
Yeah, the Intrepid's actually a really good setup for printing from what I've heard. I knew somebody who had the color, they were doing color with it and they were getting really good results. So hopefully you can get back into it.
Be good. So you developing most of what you do?
Not at the moment, so being so busy.
Yeah.
basically before until around probably May, I was developing everything from said E6, ECN2, C41 and black and white, doing everything. And then as soon as May hit, it got crazy with weddings and events and travel. So then
Yeah.
I've been sending it off or stacking it up.
Yeah.
So I mean, yeah, the batch before last was like 20 something rolls, and then I still have 5 Super 8 cartridges to send off, and then I think 6 rolls of 120 and 35.
Oh goodness.
So,
Are you
yeah.
doing the Super 8 with weddings?
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Nice.
So yeah, that's what the wedding 2 weekends ago in California was. Basically, I got brought on to shoot second to cover the groom, and then a lot of family stuff, not the non-detail stuff, and then shoot Super 8 all throughout the day. So I shot about 3.5 cartridges that day, and it was a good time. It was a really pretty event. It was Bridgerton themed.
Oh, really?
So like yeah, so she had a really pretty dress. His suit had was like a graphite gray pants with like light gray pinstriped, and then a dark jacket with coattails. And they were both for in theater. So then they had an hour of karaoke for the reception at the beginning, and that was fun for everybody just
Yeah.
watching.
Oh yeah.
So they got their performance on, and then after that hour, they went into dancing. But yeah, it was a good time between the Super 8, and they had a handy cam they were using too. So they appreciated me having the Super 8 there that day.
That's fun.
Yeah, they were just like, "That's a Super 8. What is that?" Like, oh my god. So I showed one guy how to work it, and I had him like do a couple little like 10-second clips, and he was like, "This is so cool." He's like, "I need to get one." I'm like, "Do it. Go ahead and get you one."
What kind of camera are you using for that? What's the Super 8 you're working with?
So I picked up a Lycena Super.
Okay.
No, Lycena Special. So I got it for a good price on eBay, and luckily it was good. Luckily it was all good and
It
worked.
checked out. Nice.
Yeah,
And
so
it worked. Yeah, that's the hard part is like, do they work
Yep.
properly?
Yeah.
Yeah, I
It's-
haven't done anything with that. The closest we got was the Lomo Chemo 35, where you
Oh, that's
roll it with
terrible.
your hand. You do like terrible. Not even. I do not recommend that product.
You
But
get ultra wide little frames that are like terrible. They're just not good.
so bad. It's like Lomo
Yeah.
version of.
I think Lucinda was dabbling a little bit with the
I think
Super 8.
She, I think, has had good luck with that too. I
Yeah.
think she
Yeah, she-
started dabbling a teeny bit, and
Plus Cole Cavallo also has been doing a little bit of Super 8.
So
Yeah.
I knew Lucinda was. We talked at the last film walk
Oh, nice.
because
Yeah.
we actually both had our Super 8s there that day.
oh, that's
Oh, heck
right.
yeah.
That's right.
Also, we both had our Supers there that
Yeah,
day.
yeah.
That's actually one of the cartridges that's still sitting on my desk.
Nice.
That's from that day.
Nice. Yeah, I haven't seen her footage from that. I'll have to ask
I
her
think
about that.
she's still.
Oh, she may still
sitting on
working
it,
on
probably,
it.
yeah.
That makes sense. It
Yeah.
takes a while to get to that stuff. It's kind of expensive to develop too, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's
It's around like 50 to
yeah,
develop.
$40-$50. I mean, depending where
Yeah.
you go. So like the first 4 or 5 cartridges I sent to Kodak in New York, and then they have good pricing. But I think this next round I'm going to try out. I think it's called the Negative Space or Negative Land, and they have 4K scans, and you can get a set that's log and then a set that's color graded for you. It's
Oh,
like
that's awesome.
it's like $55-$60. So I think it ends up being worth it because I mean,
Yeah.
if you don't want to grade it, you already have the graded, and if you want to do a heavy grading, you get the log file too. So I think
That's awesome.
overall, yeah, between the quality of their the Kodak stuff and what I've seen, I think it's an overall good price. I mean, it's just overall it's pricey, just in general.
Yeah. Be fun to shoot a wedding on 35 millimeter motion picture. Could you imagine that?
I could I'm trying
This is like Jurassic Park.
because like Mark, I think his name is Mark Brown. He's somewhere from overseas, but he's in LA a lot. He shoots weddings basically. He was all Super 8, but now he's all in 16.
Yeah.
And
16 is pretty nice.
yeah, and I mean he has multiple Bolexes, and that's his whole kit. Teaches classes of lighting and stuff, and
Oh, wow.
I've seen one guy do a wedding on 35. He had a big Ari,
But
and I'm just like, that is so loud. Because
oh, yeah.
Yeah, the lot. I just saw a thing recently about so
It was
IMAX.
IMAX shooting Nope.
I had no idea how loud that they were. Oh my god! I'm like,
Yeah.
how can they act with that going on?
just clicking in the back.
It's like a
Yeah.
it's like a lawnmower.
Yeah.
I was like, I assumed there was some noise involved with that, but there's more than noise involved with those cameras.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be a little disruptive in the middle of a wedding. Like,
16 is probably okay, but
yeah.
But if you could shoot an IMAX, if you shoot a wedding on IMAX,
That'd be amazing.
You got to have explosions to go along with it too.
Yeah, not disruptive in any way, shape,
pyros
or
in the
form.
background.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was funny
Would
because
not
I
be
saw
cheap either.
those samples of the background of Nope when they were doing
Yeah.
Nope, and so much of Nope is like suspenseful, kind of quiet stuff,
Yeah.
and to see them acting with those scenes with that lawnmower of a camera going in the background was kind of amazing. It's like
Yeah. It just goes to show that audio is like,
so important.
it is important for a movie, and they gotta, you see a movie on IMAX like that, and I mean, you got to know what you're doing with your audio and like get that to sync up and then record, and
Yeah.
all that stuff is just, it's mind-boggling.
So the Super 8, when you send it out, it's just the video. There's no. Do you do audio overlay on any of that?
No,
Yeah.
I haven't got that far, and
Yeah, I was gonna say that's like a whole new discipline there alone, right?
Yeah, so you get an audio on there. I mean, like, I think it has the what's it called? The ability to the crystal sync, so you can sync your audio. But I don't know if I really want to invest the money into crystal sync. I'd probably just do a recorder, go from there, or shoot another set of video on my mirrorless and have the audio coming from there.
Yeah.
And then just overlay it that way instead of trying to do it on the cartridge or anything else.
Yeah. That'd be pretty hard too. You'd have to have a good camera shooting at a very consistent speed too. Otherwise you get like delays and stuff,
Yeah.
which would not be good.
It sounds super complicated.
Yeah. It's probably a little hard to sell to your client as well. Do you want audio for this or not?
Like, what do you mean audio?
What's the difference? Well, about $1,000.
Not expensive at all.
Yeah. Just throw an audio track on there. It's fine. Something upbeat.
So I think on our walk we had, was that what month was that? I don't even know. The
Which one?
January, February, last one. Well, you were shooting 4x5.
So I
thought, yeah.
So I just had traded for a speed graphic with the Rolly Hitamat. It's a projector lens that I can't pronounce it. Basically, it's the Aero Ektar competitor.
Nice.
So it's like a 150, like f2.8 or f2. So it's a sweet.
nice.
It's a sweet. And I mean, I traded a lens and I think like $150 for it. So I was like, even if it's just a lens, that's fine, and the body like halfway works. And like, you know what? I'll pick another speed graphic,
Yeah.
but it ended up all working out, and it's a good little setup for on the go, quick 4x5 stuff.
Yeah. Is that the one that has the good bokeh on it, that lens? It has that like kind of almost circle kind of like bokeh.
It's almost swirly. It's not as bad as the Hilo stuff.
Yeah.
It's not quite that like swirly, but it does have some swirl to
It's
it.
got some swirl. I love that bokeh. That's my favorite. When I see that, I'm like, oh, I like that lens.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
The Fritzl lenses.
Fritzl.
Yeah, there's those ones are those are like the really old barrel lenses that, I don't know, there's some people shooting with those, which is crazy.
Yeah. Sometimes you see it and it's so distorted, and I'm like, holy shit, how did a lens do that? Like, kind of impressive.
Yeah. So obviously you shoot a lot of weddings. Do you do much portrait work? I know you do a little bit.
Yes. So yeah, portrait. I would say just as much weddings just as much as I do weddings, I shoot portraits as well.
Okay.
So I just did a branding session, I think last week, that was on half film, half digital for a sommelier that's from here. So we shot some digital in studio, shot film in studio, and then we did the same thing for her branding session out of her house. She does a bunch of, she calls them couch crushers. And so she'll pair a wine from like Trader Joe's or somewhere with, say, Cheetos or something like some snack of the sort. And so we had a bunch of different couch crushers we were trying to sell and like pair up that we shot for. So we did a Taco Bell and like a Sauvignon Blanc shoot. And it was like on her couch, and then we did like
Yeah.
a Cheeto type. We did like all that type of stuff. So yeah, a lot of random portraits.
Nice.
And a little bit of family stuff, but yeah, really weddings and portraits to say the main two, and then the corporate events randomly, but yeah, a decent amount of portraits.
Of the three, I guess, corporate portraits and doing wedding work, which do you prefer the most?
It's honestly, it's really close between weddings and portraits, because I mean, you get a lot of portraits and weddings, but then you get
Sure.
a lot of the other stuff too. So I mean, it's not the same as street, but during cocktail hour and stuff, it's very reminiscent of street.
Yeah.
You just don't have as many angry people possibly.
Yeah.
You do have like an angry Uncle Bob every once in a while, but
Yeah.
but then I mean, I don't know. You have an angry Uncle Bob every once in a while, but then you also have like Aunt Cindy that's like, oh my God, let me take a picture of you taking a picture. I'm like, all right, cool. It's gonna make her day. Like, sure.
Yeah. That's fun.
So yeah, so I mean, yeah, honestly, it's probably weddings is probably number one, then portraits, and then corporate.
Yeah. All right. I see that.
Very cool. Is that if you didn't do any of this, for money, what would you be doing if you were just shooting for you only?
Probably weddings and
Still be
portraits.
doing it. You'd still be doing it.
Totally.
That's
Yeah,
amazing.
Yeah, I really do. I really do love shooting weddings. I mean,
That's why you're good at it.
yeah, it's like people are like it's part. I'm like I don't see it as hard. I see it as like there is challenges. I mean, it's always moving light and everything, but it really is just a fun puzzle of the day.
Yeah.
And it's a new group each time for the most part. So I mean, it's you usually don't know anybody there for the most part. So it's like you walk in fresh every time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Except knowing the couple and maybe their parents, and then when you do it again, it's like, all right, cool, new group, let's do this again.
How many weddings have you shot at this point? Quite a few.
So on my own, probably 10, and then a second, probably 150 or so.
Oh, wow.
I think last year it was 35 or 40, and the year before that, it was the same. So I mean, it wasn't every weekend, but there's a lot of weekends that were double and triple headers.
Yeah. Oh goodness.
Oh,
I was
wow.
gonna say that adds up to almost every weekend. Oh, that's
Yeah.
hard with a full-time job too.
Yeah, so there's a lot of Fridays, Saturdays, and sometimes there would be some Thursdays in there too. So then every once in a while I'll be at Thursday, Friday, Saturday, which is really hard.
Oof.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a lot.
And then we're shooting, the people I shoot with sometimes for second, they shoot year round. So we're still booking weddings now for Arizona
Yeah.
and all through the summer. So I mean, we'll start at 4, shoot until like 9 or 10. And it's 110 degrees
People
the
are
whole
still
time.
doing outdoor weddings and
Oh,
Partially, yeah. It's,
what?
Yeah,
But
it's-
why? Are people going down from the heat at those?
Probably
Yeah.
less expensive to run a venue.
It's cheaper. It's cheap. Get the cheap summer rate. I
Yeah.
haven't had anybody pass out. I've almost had somebody pass out on me, but
Yeah.
luckily nobody's passed out. And let's knock on wood that nobody does, because
Yeah.
it's rough.
That's
Somebody
brutal.
asked me out to an outdoor wedding in the summer in Phoenix. I'd be like, pass.
Yeah.
Sorry, I love you, but no, I'm not coming.
Well, people from out of state would be like, oh, yeah, it sounds fun.
That's the
Have
that's
you been
the,
to Phoenix?
that's
In the
the-
middle of
Yeah.
summer.
Like, oh, it'd be fine. It'd be great. I'm so cold here.
Yeah.
It was a couple from Colorado. They flew in. They basically everybody flew into Phoenix for a destination wedding from Colorado,
What?
and it was in, I think it was in July or August last year.
No.
So it ended up being like 95, 100 degrees.
They didn't kind of realize like how bad it would be.
No, they were just like, it's so hot. I'm like, yeah, you guys picked a terrible time.
It's like when people from out of state like choose to hike
Yeah.
Camelback in the middle of July. It's like,
They-
are you kidding me?
They underestimate it. Well, also, if you've never been here and you first come, like, it's going to be hot, but you don't really grasp the full depth of the hot until you're here and like you really experience the summer and you're like, oh, this is okay. This is different. This isn't just hot. This is a whole different thing. But yeah, I'm sure people are lured here by the cheap rates because everybody's like the resorts and everything and the hotels and everything are so discounted right now.
Yeah.
We're coming out of that season though. We're slowly sneaking back. I think the kids go back to school and then everything. And then the people are going to come back into town. And
Yep.
so you do weddings kind of everywhere, not just here though. You leave, you go out to other places.
So a lot of them have been basically here or California.
Yeah.
Those have been the two spots. Conferences are kind of everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Conferences will be from here, Indianapolis, Miami, kind of all over. So I mean, the conferences are everywhere. Weddings have mostly been
Yeah.
here in California.
The conference ones are interesting. I go to a lot of, I have a corporate job and we have our big events and we always have like the photographer that shows up for that. And I always feel bad for them. I'm always looking at them. I'm like, oh man, they must be so bored at this event. Like,
You probably get good money for them
gotta
though. So
the money's probably
Yes.
very good. Yeah. Like there's money to spend for conferences for sure. It feels like such a different crowd than a wedding crowd. how is it shooting a corporate event? Like, I can't.
It's boring.
Is it boring? Yeah, because
There's no way
that's
around
why I
it.
always look at it like, because as an attendee, you're always in like this, and maybe it's just me, but a lot of the attendees are in this fake I'm having a good time kind of mood, you know, and like I'm overly aware of the photographers that are at the event. I usually try my best to not be in any of the photos that end up on like the big slideshow that they send to everybody after the event.
Yep.
Because I'm like, oh, I don't want to. I don't see my fake smile in that. I don't want anyone to see that, because like I have a hard time kind of playing that. You know,
Yeah.
Stacy finds the photographer and is just like,
Don't
don't take pictures of me.
Don't you touch it. Don't even get near me with that camera. Although we did have, there was an event, they did free headshots, which was handy for my LinkedIn, I must say. I didn't have to like go out of the way to get a photo for my LinkedIn. But no, like, so they're generally speaking, it's just, you know,
I would say like that is very cookie cutter.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really, you go into whatever, if it's a conference with multiple sponsors, you know, basically doing a proof of purchase. So getting pictures of all their signage saying, hey, there's all the stuff you paid for. It's here, it's up. And then if you have a speaker, you know, doing a tight and wide of the room, getting some of them on stage, also getting the sponsor signage in the background, getting people conversing. So it's really the same thing.
yeah.
If it's a big conference, but if it's a company that's bringing you in for like their managers meeting or a year in retreat, that is kind of fun in that sense, because then you're with them usually for a day or two. And so by the end of the first day, you are like you have this rapport built with them, and they're like
Yeah.
kind of hanging out, chilling. Like the last one I did was in September. It was this company, they flew in. It was their first time all being in person, because they were founded during COVID. They had never all met in person. Came here. I was with them all the first day, and then that night we went to the Vig or somewhere. We got dinner, had drinks, and I was supposed to stay an hour. Ended up staying until like 11 or 12 that night. Had to be back at 7. And the CEO came up to me that morning. Next morning, he said, I heard you stayed with my people last night. I'm like, yeah, we had a good time. He's like, good. He's like, they love you. He's like, I'm glad you stayed with them. He's like, everybody loves you. He's like, if you can stay a little longer, we'll add on a couple hours today. If you can stay a little longer, because they actually want you around now that like they've hung out with you. And so I'm like, all right, cool, yeah. I was
That's
like,
fun.
I was like, yeah, well, I'll add on a couple hours. Like I'll invoice you guys, whatever. But yeah, like those are a little bit different than like the big conferences. You know, you're building that rapport,
Yeah.
but the big ones are just, it is very cookie cutter.
Yeah. What's the most ridiculous thing you've seen money spent on at a corporate event?
James like, I don't know if I want to answer this on the
I'm trying to think. like,
podcast.
Because I've seen some things.
I'm trying to think. Like,
I'm like, we did that.
it's just like honestly the most random branding stuff.
Yeah.
Of like the most. I don't know. Like there was like this. You stick it on the back of your phone, but it's not like a sticky anything. It's like a tactile, like touch.
Mm-hmm.
So it's almost like a sandpaper that's been coated with like plastic,
Yeah.
and it was like hundreds and hundreds of those, like boxes and boxes.
Oh, jeez.
And they're like, we can't give these out fast enough. I'm like, what do you want to do with them? And like you put on your laptop, put on your phone. I'm like, what is this for? Like, if you're stressed out, you touch it. I'm like, this is not helping me not be stressed out.
This is making me think about how lame this product is.
You know, we had a year that we gave fidget spinners out, and I was like, really? That was like in the bag of stuff that you got. I'm like, everyone just like threw them away. I'm like, well, that was a good use of money on that. We had a wedding, or not a wedding. We had an event once that we had a beer burro show up. I'm like, what is that? I'm like, it's a donkey with beer. I'm like, what? What?
We're
paid-
trying to get one for one of our meetups. I think that would be fun. We'll like have Gatorade and Capri Suns or something.
Yep, you can rent him. I think he's in Cave Creek, but we rented him for one of our events. And I'm like, did we really just pay money to have a donkey walk around this event with beer on his back?
You see this at a lot of weddings.
Yeah,
A lot of weddings.
I think it's a conversation starter for something like
Well,
that.
yeah.
People love getting a picture with him though. Like the burros, like people
Yeah.
love getting a picture with the burro. I mean, it's just
Yep.
I think we looked into renting one. And it was like we would have to charge admission to get in or something. And it was just like, no, this doesn't make sense. This would be fun, but it's a little drastic.
We should start giving out like the weirdest stuff at our photo events. We were
Yeah.
talking about that. We were like, what's the weirdest thing we can do at the event? Kind of go like weird, like these. That's the thing with corporate events. They do some weird stuff sometimes, and it's like, what is
Some of the
this?
food that Stacy's seen has like been like outlandish, like a steamboat of meat.
Yeah, I had to like
what?
take a picture
Or a
and send it to
steamship.
a steamship of beef, and I was like, it basically is a half a cow, I guess is what it is. And I was like, I had to send the picture to people and be like, have you ever heard of a steamship of beef? I'm like, no. Like, but yeah, the events I go to, like the food is sort of like second to drinking. People love to drink at the corporate events, but the food is always like second to that. But every event that I end up going to is like the most ridiculous spreads of food that I've ever seen in my entire life. And I'm like, oh my God, like this is so much food.
Yeah.
Like always like hand rolled sushi, and then
Crazy
like
stuff.
it was a beef Wellington with filet mignon bites. I'm like, time out. Can we just take a break here? Can we just take a break and just like get all these simmer platters?
That's crazy.
Like one was like making huge. They were making huge things of paella, and I'm just like, whoa. Can we? I was like, can we get a plate over here really quick?
Yeah.
And the guy's like, I got you one. I'm like, thank you so much. He made me a little dish to the side. I'm like, I'll be back in like 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Do you find your weddings, are they paying for your meal and everything? I know.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, usually everyone pays for the meal, and then I really only had one bad vendor meal, but most of them are the same as the guests. So I mean,
Yeah, you're not getting, yeah.
it's not great, but it's not bad. Like there's been a couple really great ones, but then there's only been said really truly one bad one of all the weddings.
Yeah. Yeah. I heard that one story on the internet going around where the guy took the photos and they didn't get him. They were like, you don't need to eat. Like, so they didn't feed him, and he like didn't give him the photos. He's like, no meal, no photos.
Yeah, man.
Like,
It's
I
like,
don't know how you can expect someone to be there all day with you and not offer that. Like, that seems so cruel.
it's like the anti work from home crowd. It's like, no, just photos only. You're not allowed to have a break
Do
for
anything
lunch.
else. You're not a person. You're a
Yeah.
photo robot.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, I'll feel for you the next time you're at a corporate event. And next time I want him, I'm like, oh, he has to do that. I always assume though it's good money because for those events, it's always like, the budget doesn't seem to exist for conferences and things like that. So, and somebody's got to do it. They like to have a record for sure.
Yeah, and I mean, like you have to pay. It is hard to turn those down. Like truly, it is.
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
bet.
with between engineering and that, I make more in conferences. If I shoot a conference, I'll probably make like 2 months of my salary for engineering.
Yeah.
And so it's just,
Man.
and so it's like I would gladly take off for a couple of days to make this amount of money, even if I'm going to be bored.
Yeah.
But like during that time, that downtime or being bored or whatever, you're syncing photos and editing. So then by the time you're done that end of that week, you're probably mostly done editing everything you need to do.
Yeah.
And you can just kind of deliver and wash your hands of it. Whereas the weddings, you're sync everything, and then it's a lot more tedious of editing work compared to the corporate stuff. And
Yeah.
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah, I was impressed. The last event I went to was in Orlando, and it was 4 days, I think we were there. And the AV team was crazy. So they were taking photos and video of the whole event, and there was probably like a group of, I'd say maybe 10 people. It was like a pretty good sized group of people taking photos and video of the whole event. And at the beginning of each day, they had a recap video of the first day. And it was so well done. I'm like, that just happened like last night, and you guys have a whole video done. Like, so I'm like, these people are shooting day in the middle of the night. They're like doing the work, and they're doing it day after day. They're putting in the money, but I'm like, I guess if you're making like a ton of money, you're like being able to pull it out. But the end of the event, we had a full that evening for the award ceremony. We had a full video of everything we had seen and done for the whole event that was completely like really well put together.
yeah,
I was
those-
like,
those are
wow,
rough. Those
okay.
are rough. We did one.
Oof.
It was 2 years ago in Miami. That's what we did. We didn't do same day edits for any of the keynote speakers.
Mm-hmm.
So like at the time, it was right before Elon had stepped down from Tesla and like got Twitter or X or whatever you want to call it.
Mm-hmm.
So we'd photographed him, photographed like LL Cool J and like John Bon Jovi. So we're photographing these people, and then basically as soon as we photograph them, we have like 15, 20 minutes to get some edits done, send it over to their publicist for them to approve it, and then it goes out.
That's so
Wow.
And then basically at the end of every night, we had to have same thing. It was like we had to have edits done so they can put a recap up, and then the video team. So this conference, there was 3 of us shooting photos, and then 3 people in the video. And for us, we kind of all just divided and conquered. But the video, they had 1 dedicated editor and 2 people shooting, and so they did the same thing. They did a 30-second sizzle reel at the beginning of every morning.
Mm-hmm.
And so we would get done shooting at 10 or 11 o'clock at night, and then basically they would stay up until 2 or 3, finish editing, and then have to get to the audiovisual team on site by 6 to run a test, and then we would start the next day at 7 or 8, and just do that for like 3 days.
Yeah.
Oof.
Yeah,
Yeah. Crazy work.
That's rough.
I was like, that's usually how. I mean, some people like it's nice if you have a dedicated editor, but if you don't,
That's what I was saying. If they don't have
it's
the
hell.
editor, those people aren't sleeping the entire event.
And that's how we didn't have editors. We were the editors, so like we were just
You're just up.
photos were just like going, and then
Yeah.
but the video team, I mean, it was rough because there were 2 of them, but there was 2 of them shooting for 7 to 10 o'clock at night, and then one person doing all the editing.
Yeah. To say those events, they go from early meetings to all the way. Like, I'm always amazed. I'm like, does no one sleep? Like, I was so exhausted at this event. Like, we're getting up like, okay, we're going to have breakfast at 6 a.m. and then get started. And then you have like the after parties that go like way into the night. I'm like, what? Is anyone sleeping? Nobody's sleeping in this. But the fact that they had video of the whole thing, everything from top to bottom, I'm like, what in the world? So
Yeah, that's
hats
sure that
off
wasn't
to
cheap.
you. Yeah, but hats off, because that is work. I just remember, like, I just look at those people every event I go to. I'm like, you guys are working, like working.
It's like a 48-hour film festival. I've done that once
Yeah.
before, and it's a huge rush because you get your prompt Friday night. You have Saturday to shoot it, Sunday to shoot it, and then you have to edit and have it done by like 6 p.m. on Sunday. And that's always like, I don't know, it's a rush to get all that done. But yeah, I remember when I did one, we got our prompt and I immediately went to bed after that. So I get my rest, so I get up early. And then we had like 2 different teams. We had another team that was scripting it and writing it. And then we like swapped. And so then they went and napped for a little while. And then we went out and like teamed up to shoot it. Like, it was really efficient, but I could only imagine like you definitely have to have like 2 teams for that sort of elaborate of a setup.
Yeah, for sure. My goodness.
Imagine shooting that on 16 millimeter with audio and syncing it. And
God, yes. I was like, how many rolls would you go through?
yeah, oh, that'd be insane. That'd be a flex though. I'd be like,
It really
this is
would
all
be.
shot on 16 millimeter.
And developed and scanned and
Yep.
edited.
That would be insane.
Developed, scanned, edited,
Yeah,
synced with the audio.
that's a flex.
That would be a real flex. Holy crap. I think you'd
$1
win.
million production.
I was like,
Even if it was crappy, you'd win. You'd be like, that effort deserves something. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
So what kind of engineer are you? There's many engineers.
so design engineering technology by trade. So basically we were MEs without like thermo 2 and like fluids dynamics. So we focused a lot on manufacturing, like design for manufacturing, some business aspects, finite analysis, like SolidWorks. So like really any design, any manufacturing aspect of it was kind of our wheelhouse. Currently, I do HVAC sales and engineering, so nothing with what I
Yeah.
went to school for.
Oh, bummer.
Yeah, I mean, I would say a little bit. I mean, a little bit of business, but yeah, it's a lot of people with my major end up going to like the big 3, working for Ford or somewhere. I could do a design for that. Because yeah, we were up, but kind of we're an hour away from Goshen, so we were by a lot of RV manufacturers.
Yeah.
And so I spent a lot of my time designing awnings and refrigerators for like Dometic. Dometic's taken a whole other turn from where they were at when I worked there to now. Now they're like in the off-road scene, and before we're making medical like organ coolers for ambulances and like AC units for RVs and like awnings for RVs and stuff. And now they're completely, they basically take the same technology that we're developing. And then now they've made it more towards like a supermarket of off-roading and overlanding type stuff. So yeah, that's kind of the route I've gone with the engineering stuff so far.
Yeah.
Yeah, that off-roading market's kind of blown up, I've noticed. It's like you have van life, and then there's people that go that much further. But yeah, that's cool. Awnings.
I know. You don't think about stuff like that. It's like everything does have to be like freaking designed, right?
Yeah.
It is like yeah, it's not a crazy design, but it's like really it didn't like, and then depending on how big the company is, you might just work on like one clip of the whole awning. So that was my job, was to redesign this, or to design a clip that held back the wires so they wouldn't get pinched or short. And that's the whole thing I did for like 4 months.
Oh, wow.
Was design this literally as like an inch long and like maybe 1/8 of an inch wide just to hold back 2 wires. And that was my whole job.
That's crazy.
For, yeah,
That's super
for
crazy.
summer.
It makes sense. Somebody's got to do it.
Somebody does have to do it.
Yeah.
You're the one doing it.
You definitely tell when somebody didn't do anything,
You
wasn't
can tell.
involved in that.
That's you notice good engineering because you don't notice good engineering. You
Yeah.
notice bad engineering only. Yeah. Like the good stuff just works and you're like, you don't even think about it. It's secondary. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's fun.
So yeah, that's that.
This is such a strange thing. It's like one of those very specific jobs. Like, wow, okay, someone did that. That's like I had a job doing I worked temp jobs years and years ago, and before credit card readers were like they are now, you used to have them where they had the paper. They put your card on it, and they put the piece of paper that did like the multiple copies, and they did a little slider back and forth. And every company that had it, they had their own little number plate that went into those little machines. So it would imprint the number of the company, the gas station or whatever, onto that. And I had a whole entire summer where I made the little plates. That's all I did. So I had like a list and it had the company and the number, and I had to put the company and the number in the machine and then make the plate. And I was like, before that job, I was like, someone has to make every little thing that we see in our lives, and there's someone out there making that one thing.
Sounds like a prison job. It sounds like
it felt-
making license plates.
It did feel a little prison jobby. It did. It was a temp job, but it was like a while, and I was like, this is
Yeah, I guess
this is very specific what I'm doing here.
Somebody's got to do it.
Yes.
Yeah, they do. It makes you think about stuff like that. You're like,
Yeah.
yeah, somebody's out there doing this one thing.
Yeah, it's
It makes you think like with a camera, those have to be engineered, and
so much.
there's so many parts and pieces to it, and it's just after I had a friend like take apart a camera and show me the pieces, I was kind of like dumbstruck. Like somebody had to engineer all this, like somebody fabricated this, tested it over and over and over and over again, and did prototyping and stuff like that till they got this like mechanical contraption to sync up and work in such a way. It's like so many people take for granted, and it's just, I don't know.
it's mind blowing. I tell people, I was like, I could not imagine even today designing a camera from the base, like from scratch. Like it is mind blowing. Like truly, even like a mechanical camera, like you can do a pinhole, yes, but
Yeah.
make it something like an F3 or like a Leica. I'm like, I cannot imagine designing something that intricate. It's like,
yeah.
it's like designing a watch. It's like you have so many tiny little pieces that one thing's off, then like your shutter's not going to work.
Yep.
Yep, the whole
Yeah.
thing.
And I mean, it's you're trying, the other thing you're dealing with is patents, I'm sure. So like you have to avoid matching whatever this is and how this was, engineered, but you have to design it differently. And like, I don't know, that's just so involved. If it doesn't, if something's off by like just the most minuscule size, it can affect how it functions. It's crazy.
Yeah, film cameras are super crazy. I've had my one that Dan broke.
What?
You remember that one? I brought one home, and it wasn't like an expensive camera or anything, but I brought a camera home and I was excited about it. It seemed like it was in good shape, and then Dan grabbed it, and then it
Gave it the kiss of death.
somehow kiss of death it, and it like came into pieces, and like I never even used it. I was like, what happened?
Well, the shutter seized on it, but like that particular one's infamous for doing that. So I'm just gonna say that it would have happened regardless.
He handed it back to me in pieces. He's like, Sorry, broke it. But anyway, so I took it apart because I was like, well, I'm not putting this back together. But I took it apart and I was like, there's like 5,000 pieces inside this thing. Like,
Yeah.
there's just so many pieces inside of a digital digital also has a lot, I'm sure, but inside of a analog camera is just like an insane amount of like little teeny tiny springs and like little tiny levers. It's just kind of ridiculous, all the stuff that's in them. So I'm impressed that we can still get some of them fixed, honestly, at this point, because anyone that's willing to pop one of those babies open and like fix it is like,
Yeah.
that's a lot of work.
Yeah.
What are you shooting on mostly when you shoot the wedding?
So like digital, or I guess like film wise, it's usually 3 cameras or like 2 or 3 cameras. So usually like an M4P and have a 28 millimeter on that. And then depending on, I guess, the pace of the wedding, sometimes I'll have either Nikon F5 or Nikon F3. And usually either one of those I have a 50, and if I have the F5, sometimes I'll bring my 7200. And then once again, depending on pace, I love 6x6, so it's either Hasselblad 500 CM or the Mamiya 6. So usually I always will bring a square format.
Nice.
And then this next wedding, I'm going to bring the RZ with me and do a couple portraits on that and to see how it goes instead of the 500. But like with the 500, it's small enough and it's light enough to where I can have it on my shoulder and not on the straps, and I'm not too worried about it clanking around or weighing me down for the day. So those are usually my 3 or 4 film I have with me. And then digital, it's a Q2 and then an SL body. And then usually an M lens. That's usually my full kit.
It's a good mix.
Are you dangling in cameras at the wedding?
Yeah.
It sounds like you've got like them attached to every part of your body. You're wearing like the full vest.
Yeah, I usually do have the harness on,
Yeah.
and then I did pick up, I think it's called Strapateer. It's like an old like 1940s, 1950s like double strap. So I can't remember the guy's name. He was like a Time magazine photographer, and he would have a Leica and then an F3, and it's basically on the same strap, but then they have like an extension so we can move them separately. So I picked that up to where I can easily run 2 35 millimeters on my chest and not have everything dangle off the sides.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
Yeah, that's gonna be hard. You get a workout.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The day, you're probably like hurting.
It depends. I was like, the last wedding, my feet were killing me. I wore my cowboy boots,
Oh no.
but
No.
but it wasn't the boots. There was this huge hill, and it was like the length of a football field plus like a half of one, so
Oh.
like 150 yards or whatever. But it was all uphill though, and so I walked down there to get the garden to the ceremony area. It wasn't set up yet, and they're like, "Hey, we need you back at the house." So I walked back up that huge hill,
Oh.
and then 20 minutes later, I had to walk back down the hill again. So I just went up and down this hill. But no, really, I mean, it is a decent amount of weight, but after, you get used to it, and you do get used to it, and it's just like hiking with a backpack, with water and stuff.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
stuff, you shed stuff throughout the day. Like as the day goes on, cameras come off. Then when you get the reception, usually it's like 1 or 2 cameras. That's it. There's no reason to have 4 or 5 cameras during the reception, really.
Yeah.
So yeah, stuff just keeps coming off as the day goes on.
That's good.
I always imagine that it'd be hard to like keep them from clacking against each other.
Yeah.
But I guess that comes with like how you have them strapped to your body.
Yeah.
So do you go with something that's like tighter?
No, so I have like the double strap harness, like it hangs to my side. So really they're at my waist / like thighs.
Okay.
And then the ones on my chest are usually chest and then belly button. So
Okay.
if I lean over, the one that's by my belly button will hit my belt, but really everything else is right around my waist or like thigh area. So then
Nice.
if I'm going through somewhere tight, I'll grab them if I don't hit anybody. But if I'm just walking around, they usually don't clink. They really don't swing too much when I'm walking.
Okay.
But yeah.
It's a little different than just strapping like 5 of them around your neck.
Yeah, I've done that like once or twice, and that my back hurt for a week straight.
Oh, I'm sure.
No
It's
good.
just one point.
Some of those corporate events, you can get massage people. On
I did-
occasion, they bring those in.
Yep.
That was the one in Miami. They had like 5 massage tables, and the most clutch thing, they had coffee carts, espresso carts everywhere.
Oh,
Nice.
And so they ran those all day, and so I was just like, the guy, by the time like it was over, the guy was like, "All right, you want to double this, this, and this?" I'm like, "Yes, please." And you just walk up, and they were everywhere. So I mean, couldn't go like 100 feet without seeing a new cart. So
Man.
Nice.
It was free. So yeah,
Oh.
Keep you going.
That's a dream for me. I drink a lot of coffee.
Yeah, you do.
I do espresso every morning. So
I feel like you've gotten a little better though. Like,
no
What's your go-to coffee order, Dan?
latte.
Latte.
Yeah, I've gotten used to like doing a caramel latte with.
how many shots of espresso?
I've done less. For a while, I was doing like 6 shots of espresso.
Like six single shots or 6 double shots?
6 single shots.
Okay.
But
So, she's like, my God, 6 double shots.
yeah, no, that would be too much. Yeah, I was always pushing it because I don't know. I just
You've
like
gotten
coffee.
better. Yeah, so you have gotten better. It's not as much.
I started making it, and then I was just pouring 2 shots. And I realized what ends up happening was when I go to do 4 shots, I put that much more sweetener in, and so or like sugar or whatever, like the syrup, and in order to offset the bitterness. But it's also how to brew it or whatever. But yeah, I don't know. I cut back. I was like, I really don't need all this. Now I drink like half my coffee, and I'm like, yeah. But anyways.
You've stepped back a little bit now. You
Yeah.
make it at home.
Coffee's good though. I'd love those carts. I'd be on them.
Yeah, you would.
Yeah.
So, what are your future plans? Do you have stuff? Are you just more of a day to day and kind of roll it, or do you got some stuff in the works that you're kind of looking forward to or wanting to do?
So I have one project unnamed that I have no idea what I'm going to call it. This idea has been brewing for honestly like 2 or 3 years that I'm going to try to put into action and at least start photographing it this year. Start laying out the pieces, start laying out locations. Next is to find talent, and then also find a seamstress that can sew. And then once I have the seamstress, really, then once I find the seamstress and talent and have the pieces, then from there is really just executing, going out, and making it happen. But that one, whenever that project is done, I definitely want to do an exhibition of that project, either exhibition or a book. But I've talked with Dino about it a little bit. We're bouncing ideas, and that one we'll say it could be controversial. It could be very emotional. So like, it's one that I really want to iron out and have it done very well. I want to execute it very well because I don't want to half-ass it and then wish I had done something different or wish I'd done it better and then trying to rush it. So I think that's why I've been sitting on it for 2 or 3 years, because I really want it to be like a very, very well put together overall project.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's good. You're putting some thought into it.
Yeah, it's better than just rushing something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
And
know.
Dino's a resource for doing a book too.
Yup.
That's why I was like,
He knows his stuff.
Yeah.
I was like, Dino knows
Dino knows
thing
his
about
books.
Yeah, books. Yeah.
Yeah,
sure.
he's got that dialed in. Yeah, projects are good. I think it's good to have something lined up and a goal to shoot. So, yeah.
Yeah. And then as of this airing, our deadline will be over, I believe, for our book.
Yep.
So if you got into the PFR community zine, congratulations.
Yep.
Yep.
We're currently working on the book. So all the hard work is done. You guys have shared your photos, and then now we got to get them all organized and then get the book sent off to print.
Yep. You'll be into that. And then we'll have our, what is it? November 9th. I always forget the dates. November 9th will be the party / Grand Avenue Fest.
Yeah.
So be lots to do down on Grand Avenue. A lot of photo taking. So if anyone takes photos, street photos, that's a good time to come and do it.
Yep.
For sure. But the book will come out at that point. But
Yeah.
that's an endeavor. It's a good opportunity to be in a book and not have to do the work of the book,
Yeah. Yeah.
which is always nice. I always appreciate being able to do events that are,
Yeah.
I didn't have to do any work for this. Cool.
Yep.
I like
James is
that.
submitted as well. So he's in the book.
Nice.
So you can get a copy of him and his work. Dino's in there. Lucinda's in there.
A lot of people have been on our podcast are in there.
Yeah. David Venezia, we always mention.
I know. We always talk about Dave.
He's not in it yet.
Dave, we talk
as
about-
of this recording.
Dave, we talk about you because we love you.
Yep. Yep. And he said he was going to submit tonight, so we'll see about that. But yeah, trying to think of what else. I guess my question would be, if you have a preference on your black and white film and a preference on your developer for your black and white film. Is there a sweet spot, like one that you really like?
It's between, I mean, convenience wise, I like HC 110. Tonality and like overall wise, I really like 510 Pyro.
Okay.
And then I've been dabbling with Rodinal more, but my go-to, if I'm doing 4x5, it's 510 Pyro. If I'm doing 120, I'm probably going to do HC 110. Those really my two go-tos. Yeah.
Doesn't the pyro change out the? My understanding was it dyes it.
It stains it, yeah. So it's
Or stains it. Okay.
it has like it does have like it looks like it's like sepia or like has like a light tan, a very faint tan tone to it. When you actually look at the negative, but when you scan it in, you don't notice it.
Interesting. I have yet to experiment with that, so I keep saying I'm going to get some, but maybe I'll do that this year.
I have some at the house.
Noise.
So I mean, like, it is nice for, you know, if you forgot what you shot, if you shot black and white, then you semi-stand or stand
Yeah.
for an hour, and
Yeah.
you're going to get a good image. So it works out.
That's good. Is there a preferred black and white film that you have?
I really do like for large format Delta 100.
Delta 100?
Yep, for
Nice.
large format, and then for
Yeah, Delta's great.
it's super
Yeah.
super sharp. Can't complain at all. And then for 120, I love Tri-X.
Okay.
And 120 35 Tri-X through and through. And I surprisingly like HP5 in large format. I don't like it in the smaller formats, which I don't know why. I don't know why that is, but in large format, I've really liked the way it's rendered compared to in 35 and 120.
I've been
Yeah,
coming
'cause-
around on HP5. I usually do the Delta 100 almost exclusively, and then I brought a brick of HP5 recently, and I took photos, and I've really been happy with it actually on 120. I don't shoot a lot of 35, so I don't know, but
Yeah. Do you ever run any Ilford Salt 3 or DDX for your stuff?
I haven't, no.
Those are the Ilford developers. So supposedly DDX is supposed to be really good for your sharpness, like helps improve that. That combined with the Delta 100 is supposed to be like really good. But yeah, it's always interesting to hear what people's preferences on developers and film who develop at home. So I know you've experimented with a little bit. So
yeah. I think Delta's nice because you get so much, like the darkroom part of that, you get the control back on that. And you have so much stuff you can do. You know, HP5 is sort of what you get is what you get.
Yeah.
But
it tends to be a little bit more contrasty.
yeah,
but-
a little bit. Yeah, Delta, I like that. I'm, you know, like as we say, it's kind of like the raw format for darkroom.
Yeah.
That's
You got more to
usually what
work
I like.
with.
Yeah, you got a little bit more to work with there, and you can adjust a little bit more. But it was kind of nice to shoot with HP5 because it's like a little like, bam, it's
Yeah.
there.
It's a little treat.
It felt like a little luxury, but it was a vacation. I shot on vacation with my HP5, so it was like
Yeah.
my vacation film.
Pretty contrasty, but not as bad as, you know, I'm spacing on it. The other stuff that's Fuji black and white film.
Acros.
Acros, that one. I knew what it was. I was like,
Yeah,
Acros is very, very contrasty.
yeah.
Yeah, I
I
love
like
it.
it contrasty when it's like
It's good.
I
Yeah.
like contrasty when I'm higher ISO. Like if you give me like an 800 up, I want it to be contrasty. If it's low, I want it to be sharp.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's sort of my
It's for the most part kind of how it works out. But
yeah.
Just
Yeah.
Acros.
yeah. Except for Acros.
Yeah. Or what was that stuff that was like super thin that we couldn't even roll onto the reel? It was
We
like
got some Santa Ray,
Santa Ray.
which is like this weird stuff that's like really thin. It's like paper thin.
Yeah. Almost impossible to get on a reel. We couldn't get it on a reel actually. We both tried and we couldn't. We failed, which
Yeah.
is pretty rare for both of us to fail at getting film onto a reel.
Stacey just threw it in the tank and
I just threw it in the
developed
tank and developed it. It actually worked. It was scratched up, yes, but it was like the most contrasty film I've ever seen in my entire life. Yeah, it was aggressively contrasty, but the scratches worked for what I had taken photos of. That wasn't super important work or anything, but
Yeah.
I had some portraits in there, and actually they didn't go through. I have a friend and I did a portrait of him and I really like it, and it didn't go through his head, so I was like, cool. Nailed it.
Yeah. Yep. Film is fun.
Film is fun.
if there's any pointers or tips that you would have for people getting into wedding photography, shooting film. Would you have anything for them?
Ooh, this is kind of more of like a general, I guess, a general tip. Kind of, I kind of talked about the other day, like on Instagram. Basically, honestly, like any situation, if you arrive with good intentions and come with like an empathetic heart, kind of let the conversations flow, then like good things are bound to happen.
Yeah.
So like even with film or like on the wedding day as a photographer, like you're there as a photographer, yes, but you're also there to support the couple. Like the couple's the main point subject of the day.
Yeah.
So even if you're not photographing them, just try to elevate their day the best way you can.
Yeah.
It's like the best way, like being a good wedding photographer, half time isn't actually even the photographs, is what you're doing beside with the camera in your hand. So whether it's helping sew up the bride because her bra strap or her dress strap broke, or getting a Band-Aid for the bridesmaid who had cut her ankle or something,
Yeah.
that goes farther, honestly, in their minds than some of the great photos you're going to make, because
Yeah.
that leaves a lasting impression. So
Yeah.
that's,
That's good. Good to consider. Don't get so focused in on shooting that you forget that you're actually a human at an event that's like, you know.
You're more than your
Other
camera.
humans.
Yeah. I think that's probably why I don't shoot weddings. I get too wrapped in.
Yeah, you wouldn't be very good at that. I could see that.
I shot a wedding once and I was like, I can't do this. I'm too technical and I can't break away from this. But yeah, that's a good point. I think that'll help people.
Yeah, I think that's an important trait with a wedding photographer for sure.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, you need to have that. I mean, I can't imagine someone that like shoots only like architecture going into like do a wedding. You know what I mean? Like that wouldn't work very well.
Yeah.
Like, yeah,
You need the human eye behind it.
there's a lot of high emotions sometimes of fun family dynamics. So yeah, that's
Yeah, I can
Yeah.
imagine.
Got to be ready for those.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
Cool.
where can people find you? What do you got as far as social media, websites? What do you got?
So my Instagram handle is Slim Snapped, and then you can find my website through there. My website is www.imperfectstudios.work, and those are really the only two website and portfolio Instagram social media I have that I'm active on.
Yeah.
Cool.
Very cool.
Yeah, we'll include that in the show notes.
Yeah.
And
Everyone find you. Book a wedding with you.
yeah.
I book a wedding with you, but we already got married. So
Yeah.
okay.
Yep.
We'll do a renew vows or something.
Yeah.
We renewed our vows on our first anniversary, and we also did not have photos for that either.
Yeah.
We had a Polaroid.
Got a Polaroid of Elvis, but he came out very dark.
We have one very bad Polaroid.
So next step is a 4x5 Polaroid. Just keep getting bigger. As,
Yes.
as-
So you get to a full body size Polaroid.
Yeah.
Well, awesome. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
yeah, thanks for having me. It's been in the works for a while.
I know. Eventually we'll get you.
Yep.
Might take a few months, but or a year, but we'll get you on. So awesome. Thanks, James.
Thank you.
Thank you guys.